Hello friends, welcome to Hybrid Academy and to another session of Learn Adobe Photoshop for Beginners. In today's session, that is part 3 of Advanced Photoshop Techniques, we will learn some more advanced techniques. So in this session, we will learn how to create GIF images and how to create animation via GIF images. So let's go ahead and quickly start our session and learn about GIF images and how to create animation in Adobe Photoshop. So first of all, let's see what is a GIF image. GIF, which is Graphics Interchange Format, are nothing but just a type of 8-bit image file. The 8-bit format means they can only display 256 colors, so the GIF photos usually look grainy. Also, GIF images can't contain any audio, so this makes them different from a video file like MP4 or AVI. The GIF image format was introduced by CompuServe way back in 1987, the digital Stone Age, to post simple graphics like stock market quotations. GIFs were born 2 years before the World Wide Web, and as a relic of chat rooms, MySpace and dial-up, they should have gone extinct long ago. But this tech dinosaur is somehow more popular than ever because of one thing, and that is animation. Although the format was developed to display basic graphics, the best part of this format is that it can hold more than one image. And further, if we put a series of images and sequence them properly, we get a simple animation. GIFs were well enough suited for their original purpose, like displaying logos, line arts, and charts on the web. However, we think of them primarily as short, looping animations. A GIF is definitely not the same thing as a video, as it has no audio. But they are so useful for that one purpose that they are now one of the most popular formats of images that will appear on the internet. Moving further, let's see how to create GIF animation in Adobe Photoshop. When we use creative software like Photoshop, it is very easy to make a GIF animation. Learning how to add motion is a great way to take your artwork to the next level. To create an animation, all we need is a series of images in any image format. These images can be anything like video frames, animation frames, or even still photographs. Steps to create animation in Adobe Photoshop include: upload your images and open each frame as a layer in Photoshop file. Open Window Timeline panel and select Create Frame Animation. Convert your layers into animation frames. Select or set the required GIF loop setting and export your GIF and save it. Let's see how to do this in Photoshop. So in Adobe Photoshop, we will discuss two different examples. So the first one, we have 8 different animation frames and each frame is on a different layer. So if you look at this document, I'll just close the visibility of each layer one by one, and then you can see that each layer has a different animated frame. This bird is trying to fly and each frame has different wing positions. So to do this, we need to go to the window menu and we need to select timeline. Now once you select timeline, you get this extra panel at the bottom of the screen, and using this we can create animation. And to create animation, we'll click on Create Frame Animation. This gives you two different options. One is to create frame animation and one is to create video timeline. We can also do video editing, or we can create a video timeline using Adobe Photoshop. But as of now, we'll use Create Frame Animation. We'll click on this and you can see it will automatically insert one frame in the timeline. And this is by default the first layer or the topmost layer which is in your layer panel. Now to insert the rest of the layers, we can either click on this plus sign, we can create a new frame, and then we can uncheck or check the visibility of each layer which has to be added on that frame. Or the other simplified method is that we can click on this panel menu, and from here we can select the option of make frames from layers. So once we click on this, it will automatically add each image which is visible on the layers. So for example, if I click on this one, the first layer is selected. If I click on the second one, the second layer is selected. If I click on the third one, the third layer is selected. Fourth one, fourth layer is selected. Fifth, the fifth layer is selected. Sixth is the sixth layer selected. Seventh is the seventh layer selected, and eighth has the eighth layer selected. At the bottom of each frame, you can see some time interval is mentioned. So as of now, it is 0 seconds for all the frames, and just next to the time interval, there is a small drop down arrow. Using this, you can set the time interval for which you wish to show this particular frame in your GIF image. So as of now, it says no delay, which is 0 seconds. If I wish to increase the time duration of this particular frame, I can do that using this timeline. So suppose if I say 0.5, so this particular frame will be visible for 0.5 seconds. Similarly, we can set the time of all these frames, and at once if you wish to set that, you can press the shift button on the keyboard. You can select all the frames together and then just set the time for the first frame. So if I say no delay, it automatically sets the 0 second time duration for all the frames. Now just below that, you can see there is a small toolbar available. The first one is to switch between the timeline and the frame animation. So as of now, we are already in the frame animation, we don't want to go to the timeline. The second is the looping, that how many times do you wish to run this animation from frame 1 to frame 8. If I say forever, so automatically after frame 8, the first frame will come in. If I say 3 times, so it will just run this 3 times. It will be animated just 3 times. After that, this is for the first frame, then for the previous frame. To play this animation, next frame, this we will discuss ahead. Again, create a new frame and to delete a frame. So these are the buttons available. The Tweens animation frame, this we will discuss later. So as of now, we have 8 frames available. The time duration for all the frames is 0 seconds. And let's try to play this. See, it just did the animation for 3 times. If I wish to do it for 5 times, I can select other from there and I can enter 5 and I can click on OK. So now this will be done for 5 times. 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I do it forever, so it will not stop unless I stop it manually. It will keep on flying. Usually GIFs are made forever, so they keep on doing it. But nowadays for WhatsApp and for sharing it over other chat apps, the GIFs are made for 3 times or 5 times. That depends as per your use. So you can see how this bird is flying using the GIF. I'm stopping the animation and let's try to increase the time duration of the first frame and the 5th frame. I'm changing both of them to 0.5 seconds. Let's try to play this now. You can see how it is taking a pause on the first frame and the 5th frame because the time duration has been increased. And suppose if I increase the time duration for all the frames, I'm selecting all of them and I change it to 0.5. Let's see what happens. So now this bird is flying in slow motion. So this is how you can control your animation and how things work. Now let's see the second example, and for that we will use this Tweens option. So the second example is that I have a smiley face. Let me just set it. This has again a new frame animation timeline. But in this, it's not a repetitive image. All different layers have different items. So let's see what all are there. The first layer is only the background, which is a white layer. Then we have the face outline. We have the mouth, the left eye and the right eye. The next layer is actually a wink. So we will create an animation between these two layers. Something like this. So this time we will have to create the frames manually. Let's see how to do it. We'll create frame animation. In the first frame, you can see all the layers are visible. That's fine for me. I'll add another frame to this. I'll click on the plus sign. Another frame is added, and this frame again has all the layers visible, but this time I do not want the eye 2 layer visible. I want the wink to be visible. Now this is the first frame and this is the second frame. Let's try to animate this. It's going too fast. Let's increase the time. So I'll increase the time of the first one. Now let's try it. So you can see how it is winking. Now let's come to this tweens option. Now the purpose of this tweens option is to create multiple frames between these two frames. So if I select these two frames and then click on this option, it will ask me how many frames do you wish to add between these two. So as of now, as we see when we try to animate this particular action of wink is very fast, plus it's very blunt. So to make this smooth, we can insert more frames in between these two frames, and for doing that we'll use this tweens option. We'll click on the number of frames we want and tweens with the next frame. So the first frame is selected, and the next, between the first and the second next frame, it will add the frames. It will add 5 different frames, and that will be like a smooth transition from first frame to second frame. Let's click on OK. See, there are 5 frames created. Now in total we have 7 frames. This is the first frame, which has both the eyes completely open. The second one, in this, if you can just look at it very closely, you can see the full eye is getting blurred and the wing eye is getting highlighted. Let's go to the third frame, fourth frame, fifth frame, sixth frame, and the last frame. So the first frame has both the eyes completely visible and they are slowly getting transitioned into a wink eye. Let's try to play this now, but I'll reduce the time duration for the middle layers as no delay. So now you can see how gradually the full eye is turning into a wink eye, but because after wink eye the first frame again is a full eye, so that is still pretty fast. So what we can do now is that we can add another frame in the end. Last frame will have the full eye instead of the wink eye, and we'll try to create tweens between these two. Again 5, you can have 7, you can have 6 depending on a choice. And once we click on this time it will bring the full eye step by step. So now let's try to do the animation again. Now let's do one more thing. We'll increase the time for the wink eye as well for 0.5 seconds. So this tween option is basically used to smooth the animation from one frame to the second frame. Now as we have learned how to create animation, let's see how to export the animation and how to save our file. Now to export this, we need to go to the File menu, select Export, and from here select Save for Web. Now we use this option because GIF images nowadays is only meant for web purposes. So we use the option of Export, Save for Web. Now in this dialog box, please ensure that you always select the option of GIF because you want to save it as a GIF image. So this has to be selected. By default, it can either select JPG or PNG, but make sure that to save the GIF, this has to be GIF. And once we click on this, you can see at the bottom, it shows that the image has only 256 colors. Now this is the only limitation of GIF, that it shows very less colors. So at times the picture becomes deterred, or if it is a proper photograph or photo, you'll not see that much clarity in that. So once this is done, you can click on Save. And since this was example 2, I'll save it as example2.gif. I'll click on Save. So this is saved. Let's also save the example 1 and then we'll check both the files together. So I'm going back to example 1. I'll change the duration for all the frames to no delay so that the animation is proper, like this. Again, go to File, Export, Save for Web. I'll ensure that the file format is GIF, 256 colors, and now I'll save it. And this is example 1, so we'll save it as example1.gif. Save. Now let's check this in the folder. So this is example 1 and this is example 2. If I double click on this, it will open up and you can see the animation. So this is the GIF image which has been animated, and this we have created this animation in Adobe Photoshop. Similarly, this is the second example of the wink eye, and see it is also creating the same animation which we created. So this is how we create GIF images in Adobe Photoshop. So in today's session, we have learned another advanced Photoshop technique of creating GIF images, or to create animation in Adobe Photoshop using GIF images. In the next and the final session of Adobe Photoshop, we'll learn the final photograph editing. We'll learn how photographers click the pictures and they edit them as per their requirement, and what are all the professional techniques using which they edit the photographs.
Thank you for joining the complete session. Hope you liked the content. Please share and subscribe our channel so that your friends also get benefited with the information, acquire free knowledge and learn new things. We are eagerly looking forward to your support. Thanks, take care and stay safe. Hope to see you in the next session.